All right, hello class. This video is one that I'm making specially for the case studies assignment. As you know, the case studies assignments is a presentation that I'm asking for each of you to do twice this term. We have identified a few weeks. I have posted the topics here on the in the assignments descriptions page, and I'm giving you the flexibility to choose when you would like to make your presentation. I felt that the assignment description is self-explanatory, but let me try to make it a little bit clearer for you and give you a sense of exactly what it is I'm expecting. So because this is an online class, I don't really have the benefit of getting to hear you work through and articulate your arguments about ethical issues. Instead, I get to see mostly your writing. And so my initial thought with the case studies project was that this was a chance for each of you to more or less get in front of the class and talk through these really important issues. Because ultimately that is the purpose of this class, is for you to illustrate critical thinking and to demonstrate your ability to think through the issues, ask yourself the right types of questions, catch yourself from being too judgmental and noticing your own logical fallacies. Right? This is a really important step in your intellectual development. And so what I had hoped is that each of us would take a chance during the term to record 2 of these videos and to work through these issues with the class. Now, how you give that presentation is really up to you to a degree. I want this to be some type of media engagement. I want to hear from you. I encourage you and am allowing you to use PowerPoint, but the PowerPoint is not a substitute for you. You can use that PowerPoint and speak off that PowerPoint. You can just do as I'm doing right now and use something like Screencast-O-Matic to record yourself on a webcam. But I want to hear from you. I want to see the thoughts move, and I want to hear you work through this, and I want to hear that voice. So to do this, I have enabled each week, I've opened up a voice thread that you'll see in the assignments and projects folder under each week. If you just click on it, it will give you the option of uploading a PowerPoint. And what VoiceThread then enables you to do is to make an audio recording or a video recording of yourself with that PowerPoint on the screen. So similar to what you are seeing right now with with my shared web screen, with my shared screen and my picture in the bottom, you could do something similar with a webcam. If you don't want to use a webcam, you can at least use your microphone to speak onto your slides. If you don't have that access, you can call in for each of your slides and make your presentation that way. But I just want to make it very clear that I do want to, at minimum, hear from you as you walk through these steps. Now, each week there is a different topic, and you can see those topics listed here. I'm recording this in the beginning of week 6. And so this week is the ethics of male circumcision. Snip, snip. Is this ethical? Last week was about the ethics of the Westboro Baptist Church's freedom of speech. And I know many of you wrote about this in your weekly writing assignment and discussion board. So what I intend to do is more or less walk through this with you. As you can see here on this page, there are 7 steps. And what I plan on doing here in the next few minutes is walking through myself these 7 steps to kind of help you see what it should look and what it should sound like. I will also want to point out, if you just go into your textbook, each of your textbooks has this exact same thought process in motion. So here I am on page 105, and it says, 105, It says, Table 6.1, critical thinking steps and their application in an example. Gives the line, hate speech should be censored because it is harmful to vulnerable people. Now, this is the statement, or this is a premise. So what each of you should do is write your own premise. So for this week about ethics of male circumcision, you should say, men should not be circumcised. Or male babies should not be circumcised because it removes their ability to choose. Right, something like that. So that is a premise. So I'm going to go ahead and do the one from last week. So this is the ethics of Westboro Baptist Church. So the first step is for you to read your premise aloud. What ethical dilemma will you be considering? So for me, step one, my premise. Protesters from Westboro Baptist Church should be censored because their speech hurts American heroes. Okay, so it's just like a rough draft. This is my premise. I believe that protesters from the Westboro Baptist Church should be censored because their speech hurts American heroes. Okay, step two, identify unfamiliar or complex words, look them up. No, I do not want to restart my computer. All right, so looking through let me see if I can just write this. This might be helpful. Okay, it's still recording. Can I type? Nope. Draw and zoom. Freehand. Text area. All right. Here we go. Here's my text area. Protesters from Westboro Baptist Church should be censored because their speech hurts American heroes. Okay, so the second step says to identify unfamiliar or complex words and look them up in a dictionary and define them. So here, let's see if I can underline. Nope. So I think heroes is protesters is a complex word. What does it mean to be a protester? Is a protester someone who speaks vocally? Is a protester someone who thinks? Is a protester someone who writes in a specific way? So when I'm talking about protesters, am I only talking about those protesters who line up along funeral processions? So what do I mean by protesters? What is censored? What do I mean by censored? Should it mean that they should be arrested? Should they be like jailed? Should they be unable to protest where they are? Should they not be allowed to say the things that they were? Under what penalty? By speech, what am I talking about? Again, going back to that earlier question about what is a protester, is my speech online speech, vocal speech? Is it the signs that they hold up? What does it mean to hurt? Am I talking about physical pain, mental, psychological pain? By heroes, what do I mean? So I take it from my writing that they should only be censored from speech that would hurt American heroes. Well, what is an American hero? Does this mean that Westboro Baptist Church should be able to say anything they want about Canadian heroes? Does this mean that they cannot criticize police or firefighters? But then what is a hero? Does it mean that that they cannot say mean things about Batman? Because Batman is my hero. What about my mom? My mom is a hero, in my opinion. She's the best. So what do I mean? And I think by unpacking these words, by providing a definition, and in step 3, working through the meaning of these key terms, like I'm able to come to the conclusion that a lot of my words are just far too vague. So by protesters, I guess I'm talking specifically about vocal protesters of American soldiers, or vocal protesters. How about that probably doesn't work. How about people who protest at the funeral of or along the funeral procession of American soldiers. Should I include Westboro Baptist Church? Or should I take all protests from the funerals, right? So if I'm saying that only these, does that mean that other protesters should be allowed to protest? So I'm going to take out Westboro Baptist Church and just make this broad. People who protest at the funeral or along the funeral procession. How do you spell procession? Procession of American soldiers. Should this be only American soldiers who were killed in war? Like my grandfather was a retired American soldier. My father was an American soldier. He isn't anymore. When he dies and has a funeral, should someone be allowed to protest? So we have to be very specific with what we're saying. Who died in combat should be censored. Okay, well, what is censored? Should be... should they be arrested? Should they be fined? Okay, let's do fined. I like that. Should be fined because their speech hurts. Psychologically hurts the families of American soldiers. Okay, so what I've just done is I worked through step 2 and 3. I identified unfamiliar words, made sure that I fully understood what I was talking about and how these words are used. I then worked through the meaning of these key terms and concepts. I considered them in different contexts. Right? I thought about the Westboro Baptist Church and protesters, and like, well, if I only make it protesters from the Westboro Baptist Church, then protesters from the New York City Baptist Church are allowed to make these protests. So I've expanded this out to be more specific with my language. I defined what I meant by censored. I feel that they should be fined. I don't think that they should be arrested, but perhaps they should be fined as a way of deterring this type of anti-American soldier speech. And I defined why. Because their speech psychologically hurts the families of American soldiers. Okay, so now I'm back at step 4. I have rebuilt my premise, and now I'm rereading this. People who protest at the funeral or along the funeral procession of American soldiers who died in combat should be fined because their speech psychologically hurts the families of American soldiers. Okay, so now step 5 is to test and verify our premise. Are we okay with this? Are there loopholes that we are forgetting about? What if it was an American soldier who was a traitor and who was killed? Right? What if this was an American soldier who sold secrets to the enemy, and the enemy was then able to kill thousands of American soldiers? And it's this traitor's funeral. Should people be able to protest at his or her funeral? So I don't know. Right? Suddenly that person doesn't seem, I think just simply being a soldier who died in combat maybe isn't enough, because I think it would be totally fair to protest that funeral and to share your anger and frustration with with the life this person led. So suddenly, I'm not so sure I agree with my premise anymore. I don't think I agree with this. I think I've gone so far to spell out specifically what I think, but when I apply it to different scenarios, I'm realizing that I just don't agree with it. So I have to go back to square one, and I would continue to work through these premises, talking it through, explaining what I mean in specific scenarios, thinking bigger and broader, until I'm happy with my conclusion, right? And my conclusion now is that I disagree with my statement. Despite psychologically hurting the families of American soldiers, people should be able to protest at the funeral of or along the funeral procession of American soldiers who died in combat. Right? As much as I don't like to admit that, I think this is the only fair thing. So, all right, we're almost 17 minutes into this, and what I hope you have seen is that this is essentially what I want. Now, you can make a PowerPoint, but ultimately you are working through ideas. I'm not looking for a history of an idea. I'm not looking for a history of male circumcision and who did it, when, and why. I'm looking for you to make a critical argument. A critical argument about a premise that you make, and I want you to work through that process. So if you need to, again, check it out in your textbook. You can find it. This one on page 105 is about hate speech. Very, very, very helpful. You can read through, see the steps, and see how the authors of the textbook did this. All right, class. I hope that you listened to this before doing the project. It will make a huge difference on your grade. All right, shoot me an email with any questions.